Welcome to the Global Focus Review channel. Have you ever seen anything like this before? It's highly unlikely. It seems straight out of an adventure movie, but it's real. The Ethiopian Bible is a mysterious and debated book in history. Even the country itself is full of unexplained mysteries. But that's a story for another time. Ethiopia is the birthplace of one of the world's oldest civilizations and is the only African country that was not colonized. This allowed them to trace their lineage back to ancient times. They are also linked to the descendants of Ham, one of Noah's sons, although there are disagreements about this connection. Historical records strongly suggest this association. However, our focus is not only on the country itself, but on the valuable treasure it holds, the ancient scrolls of the Bible found in Ethiopia. These scrolls are older than the well-known versions like the King James Bible, which contains 88 books. The Ethiopian Bible includes works that other Christian traditions do not recognize. It contains texts from both the Old and New Testaments, as well as unpublished scrolls. What makes this even more fascinating is that these scrolls existed long before Christianity was officially established in the region. While Christianity spread throughout the world, it was already deeply rooted in Ethiopia since the 4th century. Travelers and ancient historians witnessed the presence of Christianity in Ethiopia since ancient times. Evidence suggests that for over 3,500 years, certain Ethiopian tribes have worshipped the Christian God. Ethiopia has been a safe haven for Christian refugees for centuries, providing them a home during times of religious persecution elsewhere in the world. This is just a glimpse of the rich and complex religious history of this unique country. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church, locally known as Teho, is the world's oldest organized Christian body, not the Catholic ministry as many might think. Additionally, Ethiopia houses one of the earliest illustrated Christian books ever discovered. It is a part of the Gospels written in Ge'ez, an ancient Ethiopian language. This book was found in a monastery atop a mountain in Ethiopia in 2010. According to tradition dating back to the 10th century BC, an Ethiopian ruler and the famous biblical Queen of Sheba traveled to Jerusalem to seek counsel from King Solomon, as recorded in the accepted canon of the Bible. However, the biblical account does not mention that the two rulers had a son named Menk. Queen Sheba is said to have taken the boy back to Ethiopia, where he became the first emperor in 2012. Genetic analyses conducted on Ethiopians found evidence suggesting a connection with possible mixtures with Egyptian, Israelite, or Syrian peoples about 3,000 years ago. This coincides with the period when the queen is said to have ruled the kingdom of Sheba, further strengthening the story. Despite its rich history and authenticity, the Ethiopian Bible is not recognized as part of the canon of sacred books and is generally unknown to most people, including many followers of the same faith. This highlights the effort to discredit and conceal the Ethiopian Bible over time. Today, we understand that the Bible was not as we know it now. There were various versions and interpretations reflecting different understandings and ideas about its content. Initially written in Hebrew, biblical texts were translated into various languages over the centuries. One of the earliest significant translations was made by St. Jerome, who converted the Hebrew text into Latin, resulting in the Vulgate around the year 400. The Vulgate, with its 27 books of the New Testament and 39 of the Old Testament, became the primary Latin version of the Bible. However, in the 1st century, many other writings about the life and teachings of Jesus emerged. Many of these writings were fictional, similar to novels or fan fiction based on the life of Jesus. The problem arose when these texts were made available to the public, leading some people to believe they were real accounts. Without the digital verification resources we have today, fake news spread quickly, resulting in a plethora of false books and confusion among people. The damage caused by this dissemination of inaccurate information was significant. This concern became central to the leaders of the early Christian Church, who convened at the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD and the First Council of Constantinople in 381 AD to determine which books would be included in the New Testament. They established rigorous criteria, A book would be considered sacred if it was written by one of Jesus' followers or by someone who witnessed his teachings. Additionally, the text should have been written in the 1st century and be in harmony with the rest of the Bible. Throughout the centuries, the Holy Bible underwent several modifications, with one of the most significant during the reign of King James II. Even after 500 years of the Vulgate, there were still multiple versions and conflicting interpretations of the Bible, a concern for the monarch who aimed for a unified version to resolve religious divergences and consolidate his power. To address such concerns, King James III commissioned 47 experts to review all existing distinct translations, dividing them into 6 groups working independently for 7 years and following rigorous rules to avoid bias. These experts used different methods to create a translation that stayed true to the original languages. The result was a scholarly Bible that reflected the agreement among the experts and met the established criteria. Despite being geographically separated, they celebrated the approval by giving glory to God for guiding them to the same conclusion. In 1611, the King James Bible was published and became one of the most accessible versions at that time, thanks to advances in printing. However, the additions made in the King James Bible and the original translation of the Vulgate by St. Jerome led to the exclusion of some books that most Christians have today. On the other hand, the Ethiopian Bible includes all the scriptures. Now, let's explore why the Ethiopian Bible was rejected. There are several reasons for this, but the main one is the inclusion of additional books known as pseudepigrapha. These are texts falsely attributed to authors who didn't actually write them or whose authors were identified as figures from the past. These texts are considered non-canonical by most Christian traditions. The books that were removed or rejected were known by scribes and theologians of the time as not being divinely inspired. Many of these works were written with the intention to spread falsehoods and were excluded from the canon. The Ethiopian Bible has 2 canons, the broader and the narrower. Before we delve into this, let's define what a canon is. In a religious context, a canon refers to the collection of texts considered authoritative or sacred by a religious community. The broader canon, widely recognized, consists of 81 books, including works such as Enoch, Jubilees, the 3 books of Moses, the Epistle to Clement, the 4 books of Codes, and others. This is the main focus of this video, as it is the most well-known canon. On the other hand, the narrower canon was established by Emperor Haile Selassie, who declared this version as the official and complete Ethiopian Bible. While I can't provide specific details on the reasons behind this decision, I encourage you to research it to better understand. This restricted version of the canon contains only 72 books, excluding some scriptures found in the broader version. It's important to mention that the broader canon of the Ethiopian Bible hasn't been reprinted since the early 20th century. The existence of 2 different versions of the canon has led to controversy and may have contributed to the widespread non-acceptance of the Ethiopian Bible. Contrary to popular belief, the Bible is not just one book, but a collection of texts and experiences written over many years. This diversity raises challenges and questions regarding interpretation and acceptance. Different religious groups, including those that are recognized and accepted, have a long history of including or excluding various texts based on their own theological beliefs. For example, the Bible, as we know it today, was mainly compiled in the 4th and 5th centuries, when Christianity in Ethiopia was already beginning to differ from Christianity in Europe and the Mediterranean. This difference continues to this day. The Ethiopian Bible shares many similarities with the Catholic and Orthodox versions, although it includes some additional books from the Old Testament. These extra books were likely written in the centuries before Christ, bridging the time between the Old Testament and the New Testament. Furthermore, additional books were added at the end of the New Testament, particularly related to Ethiopian church history and structure. Another reason for the rejection of the Ethiopian Bible may be the language in which it is written, Ge'ez. This makes it difficult for non-speakers to access. and the lack of translations and unique practices associated with the Ethiopian Bible have contributed to its relative obscurity outside of Ethiopia. There is a more controversial reason related to politics. In the early days of Christianity, political power was a significant concern for the Roman Empire. Scrolls that didn't align with the preferred history were excluded, and the Bishop of Rome instructed priests to destroy scrolls that were not part of the Bible. However, many priests hid these scrolls in caves near the Dead Sea, and they were discovered in the 1940s, shedding light on the differences between the two Bibles. In recent years, there has been an increased interest in the Ethiopian Bible, with people seeking to discover its unique qualities and the truth it contains. Churches have also been working to make it more accessible by translating it into more languages and conducting academic studies on it. It's impressive that this Bible has survived for so long, even after facing attacks and fires, which adds to its mysterious nature. For those interested in biblical curiosities, wisdom, and other books considered canonical by the Ethiopian Bible, we provide a video about the Book of Jubilees and its secrets. May God bless you, and see you soon.